Claro que se siente muy bien saber que mis donaciones son de gran ayuda para otras personas, pero creo que lo más importante es que ellos, los pacientes, se sientan mejor y se recuperen favorablemente, y que sus familiares ya no se sientan tan angustiados tratando de conseguir donadores. Así que te invito a que te sumes a la donación altruista. Te aseguro que tú te vas a sentir muy bien por el simple hecho de saber que hay otra persona que se va a sentir mejor para continuar con su vida.
Si están trayendo unidades móviles, seguras, pues sí les diría, por favor, donemos sangre los que podamos, ¿no?
Lo que me motivó fue que podía ayudar, es algo muy sencillo de hacer, solo tienes que dedicar un poco de tiempo y creo que pues la verdad es algo que cualquiera puede llegar a hacer si está en buena salud.
Ahorita en esta pandemia me da muchísima seguridad el hacerlo en esta unidad. Y el no tener que retirarme hasta un hospital, la verdad es que me parece una excelente opción.
Aquí es mucho más seguro, el riesgo de contagio es mucho más bajo, es muy rápido y muy fácil el procedimiento.
Yo le diría a la gente que se sume a la campaña para dar oportunidad a alguien más de vivir.
Gobierno de México.
¿Qué hacer en caso de sismo? Lo primero que debes de saber es que estás en un edificio seguro y resistente. Cuando te encuentres dentro de las instalaciones, procura siempre analizar la zona donde te ubicas y localizar la salida de emergencia más cercana. Las salidas se encuentran en la parte posterior, del lado izquierdo y derecho. Las salidas se encuentran bajando las escaleras, del lado izquierdo y derecho. Evita ser presa del pánico. Procura mantener la calma en todo momento. Desplázate de modo ordenado, sin correr ni empujar. Si escuchas la alerta sísmica o el sismo ya ha comenzado, no te muevas de tu lugar. Agáchate entre las butacas y cubre tu cabeza con los brazos hasta que cese el movimiento sísmico. Espera las instrucciones para desalojar el área en donde te encuentras y dirigirte al punto de reunión más cercano. Mantente alerta y sigue las indicaciones del personal de protección civil. Una buena parte de los incidentes que ocurren durante los sismos se deben a las personas que corren, sufren caídas o son atropelladas. Procura siempre mantener la calma.
Para mí es importante donar sangre porque, como sabemos, la sangre no se puede sintetizar en un laboratorio, los componentes, sino que solo puede ser a través de la donación de otra persona.
El hecho de que venga una unidad móvil a recolectar la sangre para nosotros es muy importante porque nos podemos sumar sin arriesgarnos y ayudar a la humanidad.
El trato aquí fue muy bueno, las instalaciones me sorprendieron, tiene todo muy adaptado para que pueda ser un proceso rápido, que estaba muy bien cuidado y muy seguro además.
Yo considero que es una manera importante de ayudar, sobre todo si no podemos estar en el campo de batalla, estar aquí principalmente pues donando sangre y dando oportunidad a la gente que lo necesita.
Gobierno de México.
Claro que se siente muy bien saber que mis donaciones son de gran ayuda para otras personas, pero creo que lo más importante es que ellos, los pacientes, se sientan mejor y se recuperen favorablemente, y que sus familiares ya no se sientan tan angustiados tratando de conseguir donadores. Así que te invito a que te sumes a la donación altruista. Te aseguro que tú te vas a sentir muy bien por el simple hecho de saber que hay otra persona que se va a sentir mejor para continuar con su vida.
Si están trayendo unidades móviles, seguras, pues sí les diría, por favor, donemos sangre los que podamos, ¿no?
Lo que me motivó fue que podía ayudar, es algo muy sencillo de hacer, solo tienes que dedicar un poco de tiempo y creo que pues la verdad es algo que cualquiera puede llegar a hacer si está en buena salud.
Ahorita en esta pandemia me da muchísima seguridad el hacerlo en esta unidad. Y el no tener que retirarme hasta un hospital, la verdad es que me parece una excelente opción.
Aquí es mucho más seguro, el riesgo de contagio es mucho más bajo, es muy rápido y muy fácil el procedimiento.
Yo le diría a la gente que se sume a la campaña para dar oportunidad a alguien más de vivir.
Gobierno de México.
Hola, soy Ajax, donante altruista. Lo que me motiva para donar plaquetas es el saber que las niñas y los niños pueden continuar con sus tratamientos y que pueden mejorar sus vidas, lo cual es muy gratificante, ya que el momento de salvar una vida de esta manera me llena de orgullo y saber que pueden seguir adelante y sobre todo dar esa esperanza para ellas y para ellos y que puedan continuar en esta vida maravillosa. Muchas gracias y recuerda, dona sangre y regala vida.
Para mí es importante donar sangre porque, como sabemos, la sangre no se puede sintetizar en un laboratorio, los componentes, sino que solo puede ser a través de la donación de otra persona.
El hecho de que venga una unidad móvil a recolectar la sangre para nosotros es muy importante porque nos podemos sumar sin arriesgarnos y ayudar a la humanidad.
El trato aquí fue muy bueno, las instalaciones me sorprendieron, tiene todo muy adaptado para que pueda ser un proceso rápido, que está muy bien cuidado y muy seguro además.
Yo considero que es una manera importante de ayudar, sobre todo si no podemos estar en el campo de batalla, estar aquí principalmente pues donando sangre y dando oportunidad a la gente que lo necesita.
Gobierno de México.
Claro que se siente muy bien saber que mis donaciones son de gran ayuda para otras personas, pero creo que lo más importante es que ellos, los pacientes, se sientan mejor y se recuperen favorablemente, y que sus familiares ya no se sientan tan angustiados tratando de conseguir donadores. Así que te invito a que te sumes a la donación altruista. Te aseguro que tú te vas a sentir muy bien por el simple hecho de saber que hay otra persona que se va a sentir mejor para continuar con su vida.
Si están trayendo unidades móviles, seguras, pues sí les diría, por favor, donemos sangre los que podamos, ¿no?
Lo que me motivó fue que podía ayudar, es algo muy sencillo de hacer, solo tienes que dedicar un poco de tiempo y creo que pues la verdad es algo que cualquiera puede llegar a hacer si está en buena salud.
Ahorita en esta pandemia me da muchísima seguridad el hacerlo en esta unidad y el no tener que retirarme hasta un hospital, la verdad es que me parece una excelente opción.
Aquí es mucho más seguro, el riesgo de contagio es mucho más bajo, es muy rápido y muy fácil el procedimiento.
Yo le diría a la gente que se sume a la campaña para dar oportunidad a alguien más de vivir.
Gobierno de México.
Hola, soy Ajax, donante altruista.
¿Qué hacer en caso de sismo? Lo primero que debes de saber es que estás en un edificio seguro y resistente. Cuando te encuentres dentro de las instalaciones, procura siempre analizar la zona donde te ubicas y localizar la salida de emergencia más cercana. Las salidas se encuentran en la parte posterior, del lado izquierdo y derecho. Las salidas se encuentran bajando las escaleras, del lado izquierdo y derecho. Evita ser presa del pánico. Procura mantener la calma en todo momento. Desplázate de modo ordenado, sin correr ni empujar. Si escuchas la alerta sísmica o el sismo ya ha comenzado, no te muevas de tu lugar. Agáchate entre las butacas y cubre tu cabeza con los brazos hasta que cese el movimiento sísmico. Espera las instrucciones para desalojar el área en donde te encuentras y dirigirte al punto de reunión más cercano. Mantente alerta y sigue las indicaciones del personal de protección civil. Una buena parte de los incidentes que ocurren durante los sismos se deben a las personas que corren, sufren caídas o son atropelladas. Procura siempre mantener la calma.
Muy buenos días a todos y a
Good morning to all participants in the auditorium. Let me also greet all the individuals who are virtually following this session throughout the world. Today, 14 June 2022, I warmly welcome you to the celebration of the World Blood Donor Day. The celebration of this event was declared by the World Health Organization in order to thank and acknowledge humanitarian and altruistic contributions made by blood donors, and at the same time generate awareness about the constant need for blood donations in a voluntary and altruistic manner to guarantee the quality, safety, and supply of safe blood components. Starting in 2005, this celebration takes place on June 14th every year. This year, 2022, under the sentence of giving blood, Mexico has been invited by the World Health Organization to be the headquarters of the celebration. To start the activities of the event, I want to introduce to you the distinguished participants at the head table today. Chairing the event, we have Dr. Hugo López-Gatell Ramírez, who is in charge of the Prevention and Promotion of Health Secretariat in Mexico, representing the Health Secretary, Dr. Jorge Alcocer Varela. We also have present here Mr. Rafael Aristo González Salinas, Sector Coordinator of the Undersecretariat for Basic Education, representing Dr. Marta Verdán Moreno, Subsecretary for Public Education. We also have here Dr. Celida Duque Molina, Director for Medical Deliveries of the Mexican Social Security Institute, representing Mr. Zoero Roblera Hurto, Director General of the Mexican Social Security Institute. Also here, Senator Margarita Valdez Martínez, Chair of the Health Committee of the Senate. And as we have here also Dr. Mauricio Beltrán Durán, Regional Advisor of Blood Services and Transplants of the Pan American Health Organization and World Health Organization. Dr. Jorge Enrique Trejo Gómora, Director General of the National Center for Blood Transfusions. And we also have Dr. Miguel Malo, representative of the Pan American Health Organization and World Health Organization for Mexico. There are also distinguished participants in the auditorium. We thank the presence of Mr. Emmanuel Reyes Carmona, President of the Health Commission of the Chamber of Representatives. Dr. Felipe Sandoval Magallanes, Health Secretary of the Chihuahua State. Dr. Daniel Acosta de León, Health Secretary for the San Luis Potosí State. And Dr. Eric Acemar Cruz, representing Ms. Sanchez Rios, Health Secretary of the Oaxaca State. We're also grateful to the directors of the National Institute of Genomic Medicine for providing the venue for this event. Blood transfusions and their components save millions of lives every year. They ensure that patients with potentially deadly diseases may live longer and with a better quality of life. They also make it possible to carry out complete medical and surgical interventions. Furthermore, blood and its components play a vital role in maternal child pregnancy care and response to emergencies when there are natural disasters or man-made disasters. Therefore, it is important to promote and disseminate the need for blood donations. Let us now present the 2022 audiovisual campaign by the World Health Organization for the altruistic donation of blood. This is a blood drop that came from a body. When her friend Marianne was pregnant and was losing blood, Karin didn't hesitate and donated blood. That drop blood plus many other drop bloods went from one person to the other, saving the life of the second. This is also the story of another drop, Manuel. You see how accidents occur continuously. He feels a connection with his continuity and wants to do his share to help to the well-being of his people. Every 3 months, he goes to the clinic and gives a blood donation. Manuel's blood reaches hundreds of people who need them to survive. This is the story of millions of drops from millions of people who decided to donate blood in solidarity. Throughout the world, blood from millions of people donating blood to their community are saving lives every day, providing valuable safeguards for patients and communities. Blood donation is an act of solidarity. Join the effort. Save lives. Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, will address a message to the entire world referring to this celebration.
On Blood Donor Day, we highlight the life-saving power of blood transfusions. Voluntary blood donors come from all walks of life, but they have one thing in common. They give of themselves to others, people they don't even know. Blood donations are a lifeline in emergencies, disasters, humanitarian crises, and for people who need regular transfusions. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, blood donors have continued to give. In so doing, they have provided an essential service to their communities and a safeguard for patients and health systems. And yet, around the world, many communities do not have access to safe blood. Women and children are the most at risk. So please give blood if you can, and give regularly. And to the millions of blood donors around the world, thank you. You're literally lifesavers. Muchas gracias. I thank you.
Agradecemos al doctor
We're
Tedros
grateful to Dr. Tedros for this message that raises awareness and to indicate that there are still people who do not have access to safe blood throughout the world, and to thank voluntary and altruistic donors who, through their actions, give life to others despite not knowing them. Now it is Dr. Jorge Enrique Trejo Gómora, Director General of the National Blood Transfusion Center, to address the audience on today's celebration.
Distinguidos y apreciados miembros del
Distinguished members of the head table, good morning. Let me also greet with great pleasure to each and every one of you participating in this event in person. Thank you very much. Let me also greet very warmly all the people who are following the event in its global broadcast. Good morning to everyone and welcome to this celebration of the World Blood Donor Day with its venue in Mexico. On 14 June every year, the World Health Organization has determined it is the World Blood Donor Day. The main purpose is to thank and recognize all blood donors throughout the world for all of these people who give life through blood donation. Thank you so much. Likewise, this celebration wants to raise world recognition of the need to have safe blood components for transfusions when needed, and also underscores the extremely important contribution made by blood donors that are both voluntary and altruistic to maintain blood supplies throughout national blood systems. This day also provides an opportunity to encourage governments in all countries and the health authorities to undertake sufficient actions to increase the recollection of voluntary and altruistic blood donations. But it also is an invitation to manage timely and safe access to blood transfusions, obviously, whenever needed. Therefore, an effective blood donation program must consider broad, active, and organized participation by the population, recognizing this participation as a fundamental element to generate the supply of blood components to meet the regular transfusion needs of a population, but also it must be able to respond to and be capable of responding to transfusion needs arising when there are emergencies or disasters, which we all know cause an increase in need for transfusions at the place or the site of these events. The government of Mexico, under the guidance of the Ministry of Health and the National Center for Blood Transfusions, has carried out a specific program for access to blood and safe blood components to ensure that the entire Mexican population may access in a timely fashion to the transfusion of safe blood components. This program obviously acknowledges the importance of voluntary and altruistic blood donation as a pillar not only to maintain a blood supply, but also as a pillar to increase blood safety. We must therefore encourage the promotion of altruistic blood donation, always with a cultural perspective based on gender and scientific research, technical skills, medical quality, and non-discriminatory treatment. This is fundamental to achieve favorable social and cultural environments, both at the institutions as well as the communities. And this should make it possible to achieve a safe blood supply through voluntary and altruistic donations by this fabric. Obviously, let us not forget that blood donation creates social ties. It generates a community identity and also helps to strengthen the social fabric. Therefore, this program of action is also a key component, a key to regionalize and territorialize the blood services. We want to thus encourage accessibility, quality, and safety of blood components, assigning priority to marginalized areas, areas where there is greater poverty, in order to overcome the social and care gap when it comes to blood transfusions. Voluntary and altruistic blood donations is a commitment for everyone. Undoubtedly, it benefits all. It is a win-win situation. For this reason, I feel the need to once again thank and acknowledge all blood donors, because an act that requires just minutes in many cases will improve the quality and lifespan of the beneficiary of that blood transfusion. So let us always continue encouraging, motivating, and promoting blood donation, always in a voluntary and altruistic manner. And the motto generated for this year, 2022, by the World Health Organization, to donate blood is an act of solidarity. Join the effort and save lives. With that, I would like to end my message, thanking you for your attention.
Agradecemos más que sus palabras y su esfuerzo
We
y
thank
liderazgo.
you, not only for your words and your efforts and your leadership, but for everything you've done. Thank you, sir. It is very important that we not lose sight of this commemoration. And the purpose is to thank blood donors. And these are individuals who are empathetic and altruistic. They are donating their time and they are committing to a cause. They simply stretch out their arm to give this vital fluid to someone they may not even know. So to all of them, we want to say thank you. So this is why I am asking for your applause for all of these donors from Mexico and everywhere in the world.
En representación de todos ellos,
On behalf of all of them, we would now like to recognize the blood donors who are with us today. Eric Duren Aguatzin.
Ajax Vasconcelos Castillo.
Ajax Vasconcelos Castillo.
Tarsila Viridiana Angulo Villa.
Tarsila Viridiana Angulo Villa.
Tomás Rocha Rinza.
Tomás Rocha Rencha.
Carlos Corona Cázares.
Carlos Corona Cázares.
Y finalmente, Dulce Patricia.
Lastly, Dulce Patricia Alejandra Varela.
A continuación,
Following, Dulce Patricia Alejandra Varela, a Mexican altruistic volunteer donor, has an address for the listeners here as a volunteer. Thank you very much, and a good day to all. My apologies, I'm a bit nervous, but not as nervous as when one gives blood. I am Dulce Alejandre, and I would like to thank you by sharing a brief message on this World Blood Donor Day. I would like to share my story and how I became interested and committed to becoming a volunteer donor, and how to encourage other initiatives to support the cause we are commemorating today. My commitment as a donor began at an early age. The loss of my father made me aware of the importance of health, and it was then that I began my path to better understand my body and take care of it. And that was when I met my blood group. ORH negative. Now, it is an infrequent group in my country. It needed a special kind of blood. Now, how did I learn this? Because ORH negative, we have the good fortune of being able to help all recipients, but we can only receive a certain kind. Now, to form part of this blood group awoke my awareness as a person who can help others, who has the good fortune of being able to share life, to be able to offer hope for life, and to be able to give something to these patients at times when they may be in darkness. It is very important to take into account that all of us, every one of us, can be donors. It doesn't matter what our blood group is, what our genetic makeup is, our sexual orientation, or our gender. We need every different type of blood. All of us who are here today, men and women, are building histories and promoting the participation of this noble cause, which is blood donation. Today, I recognize that we have a single life, and we don't know how long or short our path on this life will be. But what we do know is that we can help along that path. We can help somebody else have a longer and more fruitful life for everyone who needs a drop of blood. A drop of blood is simply a drop of life. This is why I would like to ask you all to participate. We can all give life. And yes, there are certain requirements in order to donate. And this is because we need to make sure we have safe blood, and we need to have the safety in mind of both the receivers and the donors. I would ask everyone to become a donor so that hospitals can count on all of the blood that is needed for their patients. This year, I had the fortune to donate in March, and I was extremely satisfied. But I was very disconcerted to see that there are very few donors, volunteer donors. And so I decided to be in charge. I saw the doctor who was in charge of those receiving donors, and I was full of admiration. Now, when I left, and with the natural reactions of having donated, yes, I did look up to the sky. It was blue and clear, and my heart tightened. And my desire was that whoever received my blood would have an opportunity to continue to look at a hopeful sky. I felt satisfied and proud at having given another human being more hope for life, another human being that I hope is well today. The dizziness doesn't last long, but all of this is for someone who will receive something for life. Let us support and give life as donors. And it just takes a moment of our time. But for those who receive, it means that they will be able to love, laugh, again, simply live. Now, on Thursday, I have an appointment at the Perinatology Institute. And the director is someone I met through a donor page. And now I am a new friend. I very much appreciate the time given and for having allowed me to share my decision. And I will conclude by stating, donating is an act of solidarity. Thank you very much, Dulce, for your very encouraging words. Please receive our appreciation on behalf of Mexican society and all of those who have received blood to save their lives.
Ahora bien, el esfuerzo para fomentar la donación voluntaria y
efforts for encouraging volunteer blood donation is a national initiative, and an international initiative. So it is the sum of efforts of national, regional, and international organizations, such as the World Health Organization, civil society, and associations of professionals who work in order to ensure a quality supply of blood. Now, based on volunteer donations. So now we will hear a message from the head of transfusional medicine. So, Dr. Silvina Cooperman, who is president of the Ibero-American Cooperative Group for Transfusion Medicine, will address us. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to indicate how thankful we are as a group and how grateful we are to be able to participate at this event. I would like to thank the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. And of course, Dr. Jorge Trejo, who is Director General of Blood Transfusion for Mexico. Now, our association is one that works with blood banks throughout Ibero-America. Now, the message is intended to show appreciation to the blood banks, to the donors. Thank you to all. Thank you for allowing our patients to be well. So in one way or another, we can say this because last year we had a unique experience. And we had Latin America united in terms of donating blood. 84 cities participated. And there were 150 sites for taking blood. And what we note, after many months of preparation and learning, and in order to reach this day, what we are able to do is show the world that there can be a model with 100% volunteer blood donors. And we believe that that is important, that is essential. This is giving a specific mission and a specific role to the volunteer. We must work both with the health system and the communities. We must make sure that we are more accessible to the donors. And so it is very important to plan and care for the donors. And so what we did is we assigned different turns for the collection of blood, for the blood drive. And in this way, we were also able to satisfy the needs of the patients. We needed to make sure that we had all of the components that we needed. So I thank you again for allowing us to speak here today, and once again to give thanks to all of the donors, and especially our thanks in representation of all of my colleagues. Thank you.
Agradecemos a la doctora Cooperman por su mensaje.
Thank you, Dr. Cooperman, for your message. Now we will hear Gianfranco Massaro, President of the International Association of Blood Donors. You have the floor.
¿Me escuchan?
Can you hear me? Well, a good day to all. As we bring together 82 countries, we represent 25 million partners. And what this means is that our policy needs to be very clear and attractive. We have been able to promote ideas. We've been able to stimulate discussion. Our mission is to promote a culture of blood donation throughout the world. We want to spread values such as solidarity, awareness, knowledge, and information. We need to make sure that this is all seen as a direct and personal experience, providing help, providing aid to the citizenry. We need to see new ways of extending our work, of providing more services for the contemporary world. We need to have new dimensions in education. Now, we have new paths for growth and information. We need to make sure that both individuals and institutions share this goal for respecting life. And we need to reinforce the voluntary donations, especially among the young, and how they can understand that this is a resource for everyone.
Agradecemos el mensaje de Gianfranco.
Thank you, Gianfranco, for your message. We also appreciate the important role played by voluntary contributions, as well as the scientific and technical knowledge that is necessary to ensure the quality of the blood donations. And as we mentioned, there are different organizations of civil society and educational institutions that are fundamental in order to encourage voluntary blood donation. It creates awareness and empathy, and it helps the state to achieve a goal. And so this is why we want to see this event as a recognition for those efforts and to appreciate the great work that is being done for altruistic voluntary donations, so that this be one of the pillars of safe blood transfusions. So in the presentations from civil society, we mentioned the following: the Foundation in Memory of Alan. It supports voluntary donations in the center of the country, and it makes visible the need to generate empathy when it comes to transfusions, and this especially in pediatric patients who require blood transfusions. Claudia Estrada Torres is being recognized, president of the association.
Ahora es turno de donadores compulsivos. Organización de...
Now we can also talk about compulsive donors. Now this is a group that is spreading out messages and is trying to eliminate any myths regarding donations. Mr. Pineda Garcia, president of the association.
Ahora es turno de donadores altruistas de Puebla.
Now we talk about the donors from Puebla. This is an association that was founded in 2014 to promote voluntary donations together with the hospital for the Puebla child. Being recognized as Claudia Gaviria, president of the organization.
Ahora, la organización Únete Dona en Vida, que fomenta la donación de
the organization Únete Dona en Vida promotes blood donation in schools in order to create awareness among the youth. We recognize Alejandra Mendoza Santoya, who is director of the foundation.
También se encuentra la preparatoria Universidad.
Also have the secondary school of the Pan American University promoting blood donations. And here we recognized Eric Musquedat Romo, who is in charge of the social services department of that university.
Ahora, Centro de Bachillerato Tecnológico Industrial y de Servicios número 6.
The High School Center number 6, which is a public institution for middle and higher education in Mexico, is committed to voluntary blood donations. And we recognize María Pérez Méndez.
Muchas gracias también a estas
Thanks also go to all of the organizations that help us to promote voluntary and altruistic blood donation. Now, we have a message from Dr. Marcos Espinal from the Pan American Health Organization, representing Dr. Carissa Etienne, Director of the Pan American Health Organization.
Muy buen día, muy buenas tardes para todos. ¿Me escuchan?
Good day and good afternoon to one and all. Can you hear me? Very well, thank you very much. It is a pleasure and an honor to be with you on this occasion in representation of Dr. Carissa, the Director of the Pan American Health Organization.
Básicamente dirigirme a ustedes y saludar.
Essentially, what I wanted to do was address my good friend, Hugo López-Gatell. And if you'll allow me, I certainly have some words to commemorate this important event. Mr. Undersecretary for Prevention
Ramírez
and Health for Mexico, Dr. Hugo López Ramírez, the coordinator for strategic coordination of the Secretariat for Basic Education, Rafael Aristos González, the Director General of the Center for Blood Transfusion in Mexico, Dr. Enrique Trejo, and the representative of PAHO, Dr. Miguel Majo. Ladies and gentlemen, and young donors, young volunteer donors, representatives of national and international donor organizations, representatives of national and international organizations for transfusion medicine and blood banks, Esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I send you the warmest greetings and wish to thank you for your participation at this event. It is an honor for the Pan American Health Organization to be with you at this magnificent event. Dr. Etienne, the director of the Pan American Health Organization, sends warm greetings and congratulates Mexico for its leadership. But she also apologizes for not being able to be with you in person. Now, for the third time, the region of the Americas has the honor of being headquarters for World Blood Donor Day. And Mexico is a host country, now thanking all of those who have donated blood worldwide. And so with this, we recognize the enormous efforts undertaken by Mexico in recent years in order to ensure the safety of transfusion and to encourage the country to continue to work towards increasing voluntary donations. And this means that there will be greater access and availability for the entire population. Beginning in 2005, the World Health Organization set up as the World Blood Donor Day as June 14, in order to emphasize on this day the importance of making blood available, as well as blood products that were safe and sufficient. It is also an occasion to thank the volunteer donors, those who are not remunerated, for their solidarity and for their contribution to saving lives. Our motto this year is to donate blood is an act of solidarity. Join the effort and save lives. And the idea is to create awareness in regard to having blood and blood products that are safe in order to better improve the health conditions of everyone who requires a transfusion and thus reduce mortality and mortality. We need these contributors. They are essential. We noted this especially during the pandemic. Without donors, it is not possible to have transfusions. Now, beginning this century, solidarity was identified with the Millennium Declaration of the United Nations as one of the fundamental values for international relations in the 21st century. Thus, in the context of globalization, with the challenges of increasing inequality, social vulnerability, as well as political and economic vulnerability, we see how health systems need to be strengthened by means of international solidarity. In order to do this, we need to establish solidarity links locally so that these become national and international. Now we see that these donations, which are repeated and volunteer, is an act of solidarity. It is a synonym of help and protection. In other words, what it does is it strengthens solidarity among the members of a community.
About 128 million blood donations are seen annually, but blood donations and therefore access by patients to blood components is not uniformly distributed. And here, once again, we see inequity. 40% of these are gathered in high-income countries, housing 16% of the global population. Blood scarcity is particularly acute in low and medium-income countries. Blood and blood derivatives are essential resources for effective management of women suffering hemorrhages during delivery, of children suffering from severe anemia due to malaria and malnutrition, patients with blood disorders, hereditary hemoglobin disorders, and immunodeficiency conditions, on victims of traumas, emergencies, disasters, and catastrophes, as well as patients that need to go through surgical procedures. The need for blood, dear colleagues, is universal, but access to blood for all those who need it is not yet universal. Regular blood donations ensure that everyone may have access to blood when they need it. It is acknowledged that blood donation by voluntary blood donors that are unpaid is crucial for the safety and supplies of national blood banks. During the pandemic, blood services clearly demonstrated that all blood donors taken as a whole provide valuable protection to patients at the community level. All communities need these safeguards. We issue a call to more people for them to also manifest a spirit of strong solidarity and commit to become blood donors. And for those who have donated blood, that they donate on a regular basis. This year, PAHO is celebrating its 120 years of working continuously for the public health in the region of the Americas. Solidarity is one of the institutional values defined as the promotion of shared interest and facilities, facilitating collective efforts to achieve common goals. In the region of the Americas, the effort is ongoing to improve security and differences when it comes to access to blood for transfusions. Thus, in the context of the pandemic, the guidelines of WHO were adapted and facilitated, including the maintenance manual for safe and secure blood in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and the guide for good manufacturing processes. Beginning in 2022, about 1,600 individuals have been trained in good practices relating to the blood centers in 19 countries. We hope thus to achieve harmonization of the quality services of these blood centers. Furthermore, under the approach of experiences implemented throughout the region having to do with promoting voluntary donation, PAHO organized a virtual training workshop for the promotional staff in order to strengthen their performance. Ladies and gentlemen, according to recent data for the year 2020, the Latin American and Caribbean countries has an 8.2 million blood units collected. And based on our preliminary reports, these were used for transfusion in over 1 million patients. Nonetheless, the total collection of blood units per year compared to the most recent prior report, 2017, did show a 20% decrease for reasons having to do with the changes that occurred caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a 48% blood collection from donors with a 2% increase in donations compared to that year of 2017. 14 countries exceeded this 48% as a regional medium for voluntary donation. Therefore, I urge the community, all the staff working in blood banks, the transfusion services, and the regulatory authorities, that we all continue working together in solidarity to achieve the transfusion safety goals in order to guarantee that all persons and communities will have universal access to blood and blood products that are both safe and sufficient. We ratify PAHO's WHO commitment to continue providing technical cooperation that our countries and member states may require. Thank you very much for your attention, and I invite you to donate blood and that we all be show our solidarity. To donate blood is an act of solidarity. Join the effort. Save lives. Thank you very much.
Damos gracias por el mensaje al doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Espinal, for your message. Based on experience of best promotion practices, it has been seen that educational institutes of the elementary and middle level are those that can generate this culture of voluntary altruistic donation, because by teaching youngsters how important it is to donate, this being an act of empathy and disinterested love, can generate change in future generation of donors. For this reason, this year, for the very first time, the Health Secretariat through the National Center for Blood Donations, together with the Secretary for Public Education through the Undersecretary for Basic Education, have organized the first national competition of children's drawing entitled Donate Blood, Donate Life. So, in representation of the Ministry of Education, Mr. Rafael Aristo González Salinas, that is part of this ministry, will share a message with us about the importance to have this kind of cross-cutting campaigns in order to increase well-being. Good afternoon, distinguished members of the head table, distinguished participants of the Ministry of Health and the National Center for Blood Transfusions, international guests, and people who have joined us today. Let me greet you warmly on behalf of Ms. Delfina Gómez Alvarez from the Ministry of Education and Dr. Marta Belda Hernández Moreno. Education is a basic right for all people and a necessary requirement for the development of society and to build a fair, equal and democratic country. The role of schools to create responsible and participatory communities is fundamental. The sector education program wants to support good practices for social commitment at educational centers, to conduct activities promoting social responsibility, as well as mechanisms for active participation in order to trigger change in society. Therefore, the current administration would like children and youngsters to learn about their co-responsibility in society by undertaking actions linking them with players who in different areas work for justice, equality, and equity. Health is fundamental for the well-being of people. Therefore, any comprehensive integration must promote among students the understanding that all individuals have the right to health with dignity. To have a healthy life is good for our overall development, and it is relevant to learn lifestyles that are conducive to this goal. Going beyond education for health and self-care, education must ensure that students understand the need to be involved in actions of solidarity with individuals who at some point in time perhaps face adverse health conditions. We are therefore very happy and satisfied for having participated in this first children's drawing contest on Donate Life, Donate Life. Through participation of children in this competition, we have raised awareness at all schools about the importance in countries such as ours to have voluntary and unpaid blood donations. Blood donation is an act of solidarity that saves lives and recovers health in the case of many people. Its importance lies in the fact that at hospitals, There is a daily need for blood units for patients with chronic diseases, patients with cancer, anemia, patients who have to undergo surgery or transplant, or even those who need an emergency operation. To donate blood is one of the valuable gifts we can give someone. The decision to donate may save a life or even several lives. As explained by specialists, if blood, when separated into components, red cells, platelets, and plasma, can be used individually in different patients with specific diseases. A final thought. A blood transfusion given in time is the difference between life and death. To train our children and adolescents in this matter is to educate them in values of solidarity and shared social responsibility, preparing them for a practice that provides dignity to people and saves lives. I therefore reiterate the invitation to all members of our school communities to always, whenever possible, share their health by donating a little bit of blood. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, maestro, por sus
Thank
palabras.
you very much, sir, for those words. Hoping these are the first acts of a prosperous collaboration in favor of voluntary and unpaid donation in our country, we thank you for your cooperation and enthusiasm for turning into reality this drawing competition. We now recognize Sail Carrera Gomez, a fourth-year student Mario Silva Corvez from Empalme in the state of Sonora, national winner of the National Children's Drawing Contest because of his drawing, A Peace Unites Us All.
Muchas felicidades, Sail.
Congratulations, Isail. We now ask Dr. Hugo López-Gatell Ramírez, Undersecretary for Health Prevention and Promotion, to address us concerning this important celebration. You have the floor, sir.
Muchas gracias. Muy buenas tardes.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. I'd like to share some ideas adding to what we've already heard that is so important, because I want to underscore the importance of altruistic donation, voluntary blood donation in Mexico and throughout the world. I greet very warmly all my colleagues at the head table, and I thank Dr. Jorge Trejo Gómora for organizing this event that is so important to identify changes in practices, changes of direction, and changes in attitude that occur in our national safe blood system. Thank you very much, Dr. Jorge Trejo. Talking on behalf of the health minister of the country, Mr. Jorge Carlos Cacer Varela, but I'm also speaking on behalf of all my colleagues of the health sector in its broadest term, because we share this vision of having a health system that is a humanist one, socially fair, a health system that provides quality, a health system designed for people, for communities, for the people as a whole, and not just for business and its different components, as it was unfortunately in the past. And let me illustrate this with the recent history of our blood supply system, system of safe blood that at some point in time was not all that safe. To think about a blood supply system, a system to obtain, process, and administer and deliver blood to meet health needs of our citizens obviously requires strategic thinking, high technical capacity, and administrative efficiency. But that is not sufficient. It is also very important to have a clear conviction of why we want such a system, as many other systems or subsystems in the vast universe of the national health system. For most people, it is clear that blood, as we've heard, is a vital liquid or product. It is part of our very structure and functioning as human beings, and also many other species who share this kind of product. Now, obviously, when thinking about our own species, it has a special characteristic because of what we have achieved throughout history, what we've managed to do with the product, not only to carry it, which is a natural biological fact, but to have identified the means of helping other individuals through a donation to be able to share this liquid, a liquid that was originally individually our own. At one point in time, it became available to other people. And one could believe that merely this element of the willingness to donate and the technical and technological ability to donate is sufficient. But history has proven that no, it is not sufficient. A clear vision is required to see how we want to use this valuable product divided into its different hemocomponents in order to have a timely intervention in a very broad array of moments for medical care in people that have diseases or primary blood diseases, or perhaps programmed or urgent surgery, traumatic lesions, etc., etc., etc. What this requires is a clear vision throughout the system. In the system to obtain and to provide health care, in the public health care system, thinking about the communities and population as a whole, and strategically plans where blood needs to be available and under what conditions. At some point, we'll share an interesting analysis headed by Dr. Trejo. This was carried out by the Ministry of Health to analyze a very specific health act, but very painful, maternal mortality. One of the main causes is hemorrhage. Hemorrhage, the acute loss of blood during a crucial moment of delivery or post-delivery. And what we identified was a social inequality map, the map of social injustice. When we drew this map through a geographic analysis to see where women died, we see that women die in those places where there are fewer availability of resources in general, such as healthcare centers, physicians, staff, in the health system. That is when women die, when there is no access, there is no effective communication, etc. And obviously, that is where we find cultural minorities, people who have been segregated, displaced from the formal delivery of the national health care services. In this analysis, Dr. Trejo thought that inequality also had to do with the obtaining of blood. A detailed analysis was conducted not only to find the points of blood availability, but also the time to be able to access the blood. And this map gives us shivers, really, because it shows another layer of inequality. Safe blood is not available for those who most need it. In this specific case, illustrated through maternal mortality. The analysis is broad and has showed a systematic pattern of social inequality to obtain safe blood for practically any kind of necessary medical procedure. I was talking about what is needed in order to have a safe blood system. The first thing is clear awareness as to need, and need thinking not only of individual life of each patient, each individual that ultimately receives care, but also the community where they live, where there are undoubtedly important barriers to access. Once we identify the need, we then need to find ways to satisfy it. We need a solid system to guarantee blood safety and to guarantee blood sufficiency. In Mexico, in recent years, we have seen a decline in this capacity. Amongst other things, and it's very important to point this out, because a system that is essentially public began to be displaced towards a number of opportunistic commercial activities that replaced the responsibility of the state to meet health needs in its broad terms and more specifically blood needs. Opportunistically, we saw many blood banks that were private cropping up. These were commercial entities that obviously attempted against the appropriate planning, but there was also an attempt against something else that is fundamental. And in the 80s, it was clearly seen when we had the HIV/AIDS pandemic. The need to have non-commercial mechanisms to obtain blood to ensure that there was no increase in the risk of the transmission of viruses and other infectious agents through blood transfusions. Now, this sufficiency and safety also require a supply mechanisms, and this is what we're looking at today, this 14 June 2022, the World Blood Donor Day. We need sufficient blood with the willingness of people and communities and a clear awareness that one needs to be altruistic, not expecting anything in exchange, but that will allow us to have blood and safe blood. When we say blood, we're referring to all the blood components and the blood derivatives. Through donation, it is possible to give life at the exact moment when needed without expecting to receive anything in exchange, or perhaps with the possibility of receiving that life minute when one needs it. Donation is to give without expecting any return in any point in time. Now, telling you about this history to obtain, store, and share blood, there is another fact that is important to Mexico, and that is making good use of the blood derivatives. These are not the components, they're not the blood products, but these are different drugs that can be produced on the basis of blood. Albumin, that's a product that is not used, coagulation factors, and yet other components. In recent years, this also suffered from opportunistic adventures because in Mexico, no thought was given to the authority of the sovereign state to develop or implement the technology in order to make good use of these elements. Instead, some foreign companies came into our country to seek that product with a very high yield when it came to profits for the companies, but a limited yield for the people of Mexico that is actually providing that blood and therefore the potential blood derivatives. Let me complete this idea to say that in order to have a safe blood system, it is necessary for the sovereign state to provide guidance. There needs to be a clear awareness for the need of sovereignty. It is necessary to have integrity to appropriately manage these valuable resources. There needs to be social justice to understand why and for whom we work and why we will create this efficient system to supply those who most need it. All of this obviously requires political will to develop the system and all its elements. In recent years, particularly the last 3, there have been important changes, and we're today grateful to the World Health Organization for having designated us as host for this year's World Blood Donor Day. We have been able to develop it through the altruistic blood donation, and this is in proportion and percentage of blood donations. Important changes have been made also to dissipate myths that inhibited altruistic donation. There was an exclusion, there was also discrimination, exclusion of the communities in the sexual diversity group because of a taboo, because of a myth that has existed for decades. They were given the stigma of being a population that could not donate. People with tattoos, with piercings, or perhaps convicts, women during their menstrual period, all these myths that existed and that restricted blood donations in the past. Well, as of April this year, they have been eliminated. The new manual developed by the National Transfusion Center with the collaboration of the 32 state centers for blood transfusions, and I thank them all, have made it possible to change the chapter to have a modern, contemporary vision of what is needed to obtain blood. I'd like to conclude by obviously thanking the different public health institutions represented here. We've got Social Security representative Dr. Celida Duque, representing Mr. Robledo, but also other institutions that make up the state health centers and systems, in particular blood centers. It is very important to promote and to encourage new generations to have a different awareness, not only about blood donation, but also about solidarity and altruism. The Pan American and World Health Organizations obviously have been crucial to achieve this renewed promotion for our blood system. When thinking about the government, obviously, not everything comes from the executive branch. It's a pleasure here to have Senator Margarita Valdez and Deputy Carmona, who are the chairs of health committees in the 2 chambers of Congress. The civil organizations are vital to maintain that feeling of altruism and to avoid any temptation to commercialize or privatize a social resource, a public resource that belongs to the entire people. And my last thanks and the warmest is for all the people of Mexico who make it possible for us to have safe blood, who make it possible also to change government practices to move towards more fair and manifestations with great solidarity. Donation is an act of solidarity. So together with the WHO and PAHO, we call upon you all, join the effort and save lives. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Dr. López-Gatell, por sus palabras.
Thank you very much, Dr. López-Gatell, for your words emphasizing how we need to have blood for public health and how we need volunteer donors to have a sufficient supply. Very well. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Mexican folklore. Now, this is a manifestation of culture, rituals of our society, part of the history of our country. Folklore includes dance as an artistic manifestation, which has been a way of honoring Mexican culture. It represents the struggle and the joy of daily life in different regions of the country. Every region and the state of Mexico express their customs, which are recognizable by their music, their dance, and their clothes. So now we would introduce a group of dancers from the School of Dance of the City of Mexico, who will show the world a bit of Mexican culture by means of dances from different regions of the country. First of all, we will see the region of the Huasteca of Puebla with two dances, the little turkey and the stuck-up one.
guajolotito, el pollo un guajolotito, una gallina malcriada. Una gallina malcriada, el pollo un guajolotito, el pollo un guajolotito, una gallina malcriada. El gallo le preguntaba cómo era un gallo maldito, y ese no es de mi manada, lo miro muy borrodito. Mi guajolote borrado se fue con una gallina, se fue con una gallina. Mi guajolote borrado, mi guajolote borrado, se fue con una gallina, se fue con una gallina. Mi guajolote borrado, por andar de enamorado, que lo agarra la vecina, aquí sale en Colorado, adentro de su cocina.
Ahora nos deleitarán con una pequeña demostración.
Now we will have the pleasure of seeing a dance from Veracruz, and the name of the dance is the Guacamaya.
Estaba la guacamaya parada en el platanal, parada en el platanal. Estaba la guacamaya parada en un platanal, parada en un platanal. Estaba la guacamaya sacudiéndose la sala para empezar a volar. Estaba la guacamaya parada en el platanal, sacudiéndose la sala para empezar a volar. Estaba la guacamaya parada en un platanal. Vuela, vuela, vuela para la playa, ahí nos miraremos cantando la guacamaya. Vuela, vuela, vuela voladora, no la sé que no me quieras, vámonos queriendo ahora.
para finalizar esta hermosa
To conclude these artistic presentations, now we will look at these dances from the region of Jalisco.
Es el son de los aguacates. Allí en la campiña verde me refrescan sus follajes. Allí en la campiña verde me refrescan sus follajes. Este es un sol muy alegre, el son de los aguacates. Estoy guardando tostones para cuando yo me muera. Que me junten 100 mariachis y me canten mi ranchera. Que me junten 100 mariachis y me canten mi ranchera. Estoy guardando tostones y llenando las talegas. A todititos mis cuates, que me toquen suavecito el son de los aguacates. Que me toquen suavecito el son de los aguacates. Desde ahorita les digo a todititos mis cuates. Tóquenme los aguacates. Sabrosos los capulines, los que se dan en la huerta, y más sabrosos los netos que me daba mi Teresa. Yo me mantiene el pistache de haber nacido en el llano, me gusta más de guarache que el choclo americano. La vecina de ahí enfrente tenía una panadería, a los casados les vende y a los solteros les fía. ¿Qué culpa tiene el huizache de haber nacido en el llano? Que gustas más de guarache que de choclo americano.
Agradecemos infinitamente a la Escuela de Danza de la Ciudad de México por esta...
We thank the School of Dance from the City of Mexico for showing us the beauty of Mexican folkloric dance. Now, to conclude our celebration of this World Blood Donor Day, we would ask Dr. Trejo, Assistant Director of the National Center for Blood Transfusions, to extend his message and to undertake the closing of the ceremony today.
Pues ciertamente ha sido una celebración bastante...
Most certainly, this has been a true commemoration of the World Blood Donor Day. I wanted to emphasize the final message, which is the importance of creating awareness in the population to create a collective awareness in terms of the voluntary altruistic donation of blood. This should be the commitment of all for the benefit of all. Let us assume this as the responsibility of the state, of its institutions, but also of the communities, so that we can ensure a supply of safe blood. I must also extend congratulations to all of those for which we celebrate this World Blood Donor Day. To all of you who are blood donors, thank you. Please continue to donate voluntarily and altruistically and continuously. For those who have not yet donated, go to the closest blood bank at your workplace, in your community, near your home, and understand the experience of giving life by giving blood. There's also the commitment of many institutions, and we must look to our people, and we must make sure that the donation services are user-friendly and warm and respond to the people and offer a national system for offering blood so that all people may have access to a safe transfusion whenever necessary. I would like to thank all of the institutions who make part of the national health system and who work day to day so that we have an appropriate blood supply in this country. I would also like to thank all of the educational institutions who, together with the Ministry of Health and the Center for Blood Transfusion, promote and organize blood drives and create awareness among all of those who are studying. I also thank all of the organizations of civil society, wherever they may be, and recognize how they create awareness and empathy. Thank you, donors. Thank you, organizations of civil society. And I must also thank each and every one of you for being here, because you can undertake fundamental actions through donation and safe transfusion. Thank you to each and every one of you, and special thanks to the governing body of the Genomic Institute that has allowed us this space to have our event. Thank you, and happy World Blood Donor Day 2022 with headquarters in Mexico. And we have the message from the World Health Organization. To donate blood is an act of solidarity. Join the effort and save lives. And to conclude the ceremony, I would ask everyone to stand. So now, on the 14th of June of 2022 in Mexico City, at 12:53, we now conclude the celebratory activities for the World Blood Donor Day for 2022. Thank you to all of you who are here and who have joined us remotely. May you all have a good day. Thank you.